Inclusive design is a philosophy, a process, and an outcome. It concerns not only products, environments, but also services and events.
So the general idea behind inclusive design is that we need to think more broadly, that not everyone is young, fit and healthy. Inclusive design is just sort of thinking about who might be challenged, why and how, and then as a designer think about what can I do about that.
For example, in 2012, London hosted the Olympics and Paralympics Games. It is the most accessible and inclusive games ever, and it's adopted an inclusive design strategy right from the beginning.
Inclusive design was embedded into the whole process, from the planning of the event to the actual undertaking of the event, and to have some form of inclusive legacy. And now after the Olympic Games, we've got sort of more inclusive environments that are now form part of the legacy of that time.
Inclusive design has been researched by many people over the years. And if we briefly summarize them, we could use 1 to 4 to summarize different focus. The earlier research tend to focus on users' capabilities. And then when products become more interaction interface, we started to focus more on the process. And afterwards, products becomes, service, systems. So we start to think more about the user diversity and personalization. Inclusive design 1.0 tend to focus on capabilities. The big umbrella is a metaphor of inclusive design. It can accommodate small children, old people, tall people, and people with mobility, vision, or any types of impairments.
So you'd be looking for examples of inclusivity, say in stepping in from the street. It should be step-free, level access. You need to think about lighting levels, hearing induction loops, reception areas that have split-height desks, have accessible toilets nearby, that have lifts as well as stairs. So those types of adjustments can really sort of open up a building to a wide range of people. Obviously there's issues can be with more historic buildings, and there have been sort of cases that have gone to court about how accessible buildings should have to be and how much adjustment organisations have to make to enable that to happen.
Inclusive design is not only about accessibility, it's also about desirability as well. For example, this OXO measuring jug actually comes from designers' observation of people's behavior. They always find people need to adopt a very awkward position in order to see the measuring numbers. So why not make it easier for people? So it's not only have a handle, which is easy to grip and accommodates different hand size, it also has this measurement, which is so easy to read. This more thought, more innovation, and more design to create a design which can be used by all the possible intended audience makes it inclusive rather than just accessible.
We would always say the best thing you can do is talk to and involve those range of end users yourselves. So you're not sort of designing on what you think they might like, but you're actually finding out directly from them what it is that they need. Sometimes it's not always possible to do that, or not to do it at a specific time. So we can have other tools that we can use to help us sort of get a little bit closer to the user, to understand them a bit more, which is where the simulations come into play, to give you that deeper understanding of someone who's quite different to yourself. So you can simulate different health conditions. So a typical one we might simulate is aging. If we think about older people, they're generally retired. So you have designers in the workplace who are younger, are then trying to design for those older people so that they have no direct experience. So if they put on a wearable simulation of aging, it starts to give them very, very personalised insights.
It helps the designers to develop empathy in the earlier stage of design. It can simulate different disabilities, sometimes even pain, imbalance, reach and strength difficulties.
Then taking those insights, they can build upon those and then design appropriate solutions that not only help the older person, but actually make the design all round better for a wider range of people.
Designers can use different headsets to simulate very different vision conditions so they understand from the user's perspective. But a simulation kit is not sufficient for inclusive design. You have to make the process inclusive as well. Inclusive Design Research 2.0 tend to focus on processes, and it emphasizes the involvement of users and stakeholders for the more inclusive design solution. The decision has to be ethical, the process has to be inclusive, and the outcome is responsible. I was involved in a project in Yangpu district in Shanghai, where there are 60 neighborhood centers. Design students from Tongji University, they design with the users and also the managers of these centers to improve the service and empower the community. The set of cards of empowerment shows what has been done and how, and encourages the share of good practice. Each center has their different issues, and students helped together with the users and managers, helped to come out of innovative solutions, and they all enjoyed the new service. And then we shared all these 16 different projects among the centers so they can learn from each other and they can develop their new solutions to be included as new practice. The next level is diversity. The population is so diverse, especially in designing for the interface. You have to bear this in mind. People are going to use it in a very different way in different contexts. So designers, we can design with people for people, design with disability for ability, design with old people for young people, and design with diversity for unity. Basically, that suggests you need to work with people with extreme capabilities in order to include other people, because things are more difficult for people with extreme conditions. If they find easy and they find it's can be usable, then other people should have no problem.
The UK-Turkey Research Link project, C-Day project that was conducted in 2020 was looking into some of the aspects relating to inclusive design, looking at some of the processes involved into how it can actually be brought about into the real world. And the project included co-developing design briefs with disability organisations, and then teams of students worked with a disabled volunteer to actually work through those briefs and come up with an inclusive designed solution.
The normal feature is this matching function of client brief and designer skills. In the past, it's very much like a commissioned project. But now, a lot of organizations can announce their design briefs, and these briefs can be co-developed with designers. And designers with certain skills, they can answer this brief.
The platform could be thought of as being like a matching service. So if there are people or organisations that have a specific need that they want to be addressed in some way, that can be then uploaded to the platform, and then student teams who may be looking for a particular brief to give them a real-world challenge rather than just think up their own project. It's often nice to get something real world and be helping someone else. So that's what the platform does. It sort of matches those two sides.
So it's no longer limited to certain designers. The designers all over the world potentially could answer these briefs, and they can showcase their projects, and the clients can enable their volunteers to work with the designer.
An interesting fact in the projects were that it was multidisciplinary teams. So the students were drawn from architecture, interior design, urban planning and industrial design. So it's quite a rich sort of base to work with the disabled volunteer in order to bring about a range of inclusive design solutions. And the outputs sort of covered from kitchen design to transport design through to education and public life. So really varied output of design solutions.
Inclusive Design Research 4.0 is very much about personalization. It will be enabled by technology advancing, for example, artificial intelligence. Traditionally, designers follow a double diamond design process: divergent, convergent, divergent, convergent. This process repeated twice. So for define and deliver, normally there's one solution. But with technology advancing, for example, artificial intelligence, personalization can be done with a little or no extra cost. So in the future, it's very possible the define is not only one solution, it can be many. And the deliver is not necessarily one size fits all. It can be a suite of solutions to suit different people's needs. Loughborough University is famous for sports, and we accommodate a lot of elite athletes on campus.
The Olympics was designed to be inclusive all the way through, from planning to the actual running of the games and for the legacy afterwards. And part of that legacy can be seen here on campus in the National Centre for Sports and Exercise Medicine.
And currently we are working with researchers here to develop personalized physical activity for old people according to their lifestyle, habits, health conditions, and preferences.
You need to do inclusive design because it isn't an option not to.
Inclusive design is relevant to everybody because our life, from a small kid to an old person, we will experience different capabilities.
You know, we have an aging population, so a great portion of our population is older. They're going to have challenge capabilities, but they're the ones with the spending power. So that's why it's really important that I think young designers are aware that a person isn't just like a conventional widget, that there's just one form of them. There's a wide range, and we need to sort of understand that wide range and exploit that knowledge into good designs.
In a nutshell, inclusive design has evolved from focusing on products, interface and interaction, and service and systems. And inclusive design research has different focus, from capability to process to diversity and personalization in the future. Designers are to make the world a better place for people and make the world more sustainable. So everything we do, we need to make the right decision right at the beginning. And an inclusive approach would help us to appreciate different capabilities so we don't exclude people because we don't know. And by making the products and services and systems more inclusive, we will serve the widest possible population.